Hello, hello. Welcome to the very first episode of the Outsmart Overeating Podcast. Thank you for joining me. My name is Leslie Hooper. I'm your host. And today I have my co-coach, my main squeeze, my right-hand lady, Steph Miramontes, alongside me, who I definitely want to introduce you to. But first, Steph, before you, I guess, dive in here, I just want to take a few moments to talk about who this podcast is for. If you're stumbling into this podcast and you think outsmart overeating, that sounds interesting, or I struggle with overeating, then there's a good chance that we might be a good fit for you. And I just want to take a few moments here to explain who we primarily work with and who this podcast is most likely to help. I would say our primary demographic is women who are over 30, who have a history of yo-yo dieting or extreme dieting. I personally leaned more into the extreme camp myself. And I would also say that we typically work with women who have been dieting for a minimum of 5 years, but usually significantly longer. 30, 40 years is not uncommon. And chances are you've probably tried, or maybe you feel like you've tried everything and nothing works. Struggling with consistency, constantly having to get back on track every Monday, or hell, you might even be like me and have developed full-blown binge eating patterns. So I would say we also cater to women who have an obsessive relationship with exercise, punishing exercise for overeating, and feel guilty when you don't exercise. Historically, women who have a history of macro counting. There is safety and security in the numbers. You like to collect the data. You like to see how many calories and steps you've watched, and you thrive off of having that information. And I will say one final thing that I have noticed is we have a tendency to attract women who have also worked with online fitness professionals, online coaches in the past, and maybe had some positive experiences, negative experiences, and we will be discussing that on this podcast as well. But I just wanted to kind of set the framework here, the stage, so you know, does this podcast actually align with me? We don't want to waste people's time here. And if this doesn't sound like you, there's probably a better podcast out there for you. So again, my name is Leslie Hooper. For a little context, I am a 44-year-old single mom to one 23-year-old daughter, and I live in New Orleans, Louisiana. I grew up in a home with parents who had healthy habits. So I was pretty fortunate in that regard. I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, and our family culture was very focused on athletic pursuits. So I grew up in a pretty privileged environment without even recognizing it at the time. I worked in the weight loss industry for about 20 years now, I will say, mostly as a side hustle for the first 10, but the last 10, I developed my program in 2015. And I will say that makes me an old bird in this game. In the online space, I feel like there was an explosion of coaches during the pandemic, 2020, but I've been around a hell of a lot longer than that. We were doing this thing before it was cool. So my very first group coaching program was launched in 2017, February specifically. And I think we've been doing this thing for a period of time where we've really been able to perfect what it is that our clients need to achieve permanent, successful weight loss. So this brings me to Coach Steph, who is on the call alongside me, and how we came to be. Steph is my, as I said, my right-hand lady here. She's been by Ride or Die. And Steph, I would love for you to just take a moment and introduce yourself, share a little bit about your own dieting background so our listeners are familiar with your story.
Happy to do that. I love hearing you, first of all, talk about who we attract into our programs, what our clients are like, what our members are like, because I have such a warm, soft spot for our people. I just love our clients. I think that they're very committed people. I think they're people who know just what to do, but they're not doing it. And sometimes they make that mean something about them. But then when you look at the rest of their life, there are so many areas that they really shine and they're doing great things in the world. So this is just that one area, kind of this last man standing type of work that feels so personal, so frustrating, so overwhelming, and so rewarding to get through. So I don't know, it just makes me all happy and in my feels when I hear you kind of talking about our people, because they are ex-yo-yo dieters. They are kind of at that, I've tried it all, literally, I've tried it all stage. So they are ready to really do some shit here. And I'm always so proud of them.
Steph, before you really share more about your background, did I miss anything? I went through a list of clients who I know we've been working with for the past decade, but I'm wondering if I missed anyone from your perspective, or do you feel like it's pretty on brand, for lack of a better way of saying it?
No, I think that it's pretty on brand. I think you didn't miss the mark at all. The only thing that I would say that I would add is what I just added, and that is that really we are kind of their last attempt. They're like kind of their last hope to be dramatic about it, because they have tried it all. They have done it all. They've even had success, maybe multiple times trying it all. And then it just seems to slip through the cracks. It seems to slip from their fingers. And every single time it does, it gets more and more disheartening. It chips away at more and more of their confidence that this is ever going to be a thing that they can get in control of. And also, like, ask me how I know. Aside from doing all of the coaching, it's my story too. Unlike you, I grew up with a family of dieters. So dieting is all I've really ever known. We were always on some kind of diet. My mom was always on some kind of diet. My dad would get on his little health kicks, diet kicks, whatever. He'd cut out his candy bars and his, soda or whatever and lose 15 pounds. And then he'd get into a gym thing and then he'd regain his weight and had his whole kind of micro yo-yoing, which more men tend to do. And then my mom, who just struggled so much with limiting beliefs, slow metabolism, every fad, every diet, everything. And me, her poor little daughter, who was just built just like her, followed right along. And we just did all these awesome things together, bonding through dieting. And I will say, I am actually really grateful for that experience, because it does make me really compassionate. It makes me very relatable to what our clients are going through, because I've gone through it too. I learned a lot during that time. Maybe I could have learned a lot about, I don't know, being a rocket scientist instead, but hey, here we are. I made it my life's work. But like you, I've been in the online coaching space since the beginning of online coaching, just forever. And so it was really interesting to watch 2020 pandemic, people dipping their toes in the water, jumping online, everybody realizing that they can do this thing from the comfort of their sofa and all the things. And we're over here like, we built this bitch. Are you kidding me? Online coaching? Call me. I'll tell you all the things. We know how it goes. So I love this space though. I love the opportunities that it gives us to meet people from all over the world. We have clients all over the world, which is incredible.
Yeah, unlike your background, mine does start a bit differently with dieting, right? My first time really getting into what I would say more extreme ways of dieting was when I moved to Dallas, Texas. I was in my mid to late 20s. Because I was an athlete growing up, it felt very natural for me to join a gym and meet like-minded people. And that worked really well for me. I got immersed into gym culture. However, these people were extremely hardcore, and I was not prepared, because up until that point, I really didn't see my body as a problem to be solved. It was actually something that I always just took it. Maybe I did take advantage of it to an extent where it was just like about play. about movement, about competition, about performance. But when I got involved with this crowd of people, then it really became much more physique focused. And I can remember people in my gym coming up to me and asking me, like, if I was training for a competition and things of that nature. And so, of course, I got to hire an online coach, and I got to start tracking my macros, and I got to start training like a bodybuilder and doing all of these things, which was still very new to me. I mean, moving my body was not new, but in this way, with this degree of dedication and focus on my appearance, that was all new. And I've shared how, for me, the tipping point was when I did hire an online coach, and y'all, this is how old it was. I literally had to mail him a check to get started. And it was like, I don't know, $200-300 for like 12 weeks of coaching or something like that. But he sent me my macros, and it was crazy. Like, for the first time, I was only allowed to eat 12 foods in my life, and just shopping specifically for those types of foods and weighing everything. And it just started to breed obsession and fear. And then I started to feel more out of control and guilt and shame when I would break the rules. And I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And I got more and more extreme in my overexercising to compensate for my inability to stick to the plan. And I think that's pretty relatable to most of our listeners, because as you said, Steph, people are coming to us as a last resort. We do kind of have a joke in our community that we know people are desperate by the time they get to us. We are their last chance. This is their Hail Mary. And I love that for us, because when you are able to instill a little hope in people who do not have hope, magic happens. When you start to show them what's possible, when their belief has been plummeted, again, magic happens. And that is what I think is so special about our community and what we do. So, what's the intention with this podcast? Basically, it's to help other people avoid the same pitfalls that I have experienced and you've experienced, stuff, to share the information that we've learned by being able to coach over 2,500 women through the emotional and binge eating patterns that have contributed to maybe compulsive overeating or their inability to lose weight. I mean, look, anyone who knows me knows I'm all about permanent weight loss. And if you're coming here because you want a quick fix, you're gearing up for a wedding or a trip to the beach, you got the wrong podcast. We're not your people, because we are here to help people lose it permanently, so they can get their life back. Because the reality is, dieting does rob you of your life, right? Your mental bandwidth. Anyway, if you're like me, if you're like Steph, if you're like our clients, then you probably are spending 70% of your day obsessively thinking about food. When you're eating lunch, you're thinking about dinner, or beating yourself up for what you ate or didn't eat, or how much cardio you're going to do because of what you ate, and always kind of doing this mental masturbation about calories and the scale. And eating just feels hard and complicated, and it doesn't have to. So one thing, Steph, I would invite you to talk maybe a little bit about here is how we're not intuitive eating and how we're not dieting. What makes us different? What ultimately separates us from intuitive eating and from dieting?
Well, I think first and foremost, we believe that our clients are the experts of their body. They've just been misguided by all the information and the things that they've tried and the way that the world trains us to eat and react to our environment and all of these things. But intuitive eating, great principles, really great principles. I think that they're kind of common sense type things that you should definitely take a look at. But there isn't a framework, a guided path. And a lot of folks in the intuitive eating space, including the founders of intuitive eating, are not pro intentional weight loss. And we are. We believe that you can, on purpose, lose weight and that you are a grown up, grown ass adult enough to make your own decisions about your body and what you like and don't like, and that you shouldn't be shamed for wanting to lose weight when you know damn well that you're walking around with overeating pounds on your body. In intuitive eating, a lot of the message really is, hey, if you lose weight by doing this process, great. But if you don't be too upset. And if you gain weight, that's fine too. And blah, blah, blah. And all of that is true unless you are gaining weight from overeating and you have an emotional overeating habit or something connected to this behavior that is putting you under stress. You're not facing the things that are creating the weight gain in the first place. And then it becomes this endless cycle where you're basically being asked to gaslight yourself into thinking it doesn't matter, because asking about getting rid of the extra weight is a no-no. So to me, that is where we really divert from the intuitive eating crowd. We have a framework. We talk about intentional weight loss, but again, we are not dieting. We're not giving you your calories. We're not giving you your macros. We're not giving you an assigned food list or a meal plan or anything like that. You are, again, the expert of your body, your preferences, the things that you like, but we do have a habit-based framework to help you make those decisions in a way that respects your body's physical cues and needs so that you aren't continuing to eat past them, overeat, gain the weight, and you're eating all the foods that you enjoy in a kind way, responsibly, responsibly, respectfully, in a way that feels good to you. So you aren't being left feeling deprived and feeling like you have to be on the struggle bus and you can't have pizza night with your family and all the things. So, man, we walk in the unsexy gray area of all of it. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because I wouldn't want to live my life any other way than I am right now.
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective here. I definitely feel like with intuitive eating, that community in particular, I'm with you. I like the 10 principles, but I do feel like there's not really a place for people to go who are fed up and sick and tired of dieting. They've tried all the things, but still do want to lose weight. And in an intuitive community, you're not really welcome if you want to lose weight. Those conversations are not allowed to happen. For example, you go to Reddit, intuitive eating community, you basically get banned from the group if you mention anything about weight loss on purpose. And I think that there needs to be a space for people who want to lose weight, but also are open to learning how to lose weight in a way that feels like self-love instead of rooted in self-loathing. And the other thing that I would add is intuitive eating and dieting tend to be two extremes. And what we really aim to do is meet in the middle through hunger-directed eating, through habit stacking. So as you said, Steph, our body already has all of the cues that we need to be successful. We were born natural eaters. We knew when to eat thanks to hunger, and we knew when to stop thanks to fullness. But through years of dieting, we have become disconnected because now we're eating from our mind instead of our body. And when you do respect the body's signals, then you do actually settle at a weight that feels good, that's in alignment with your values, because now we know we're not just numbing out in front of the TV with food. We're not suppressing, denying, ignoring our emotions, because that is also a physical experience. And that's a big part of what we help our clients unravel, is their emotional ties to food, in addition to helping them become reconnected with their body. And when you can do those two things, then you will get to a natural weight and never have to diet again. And eating isn't complicated. It's not hard, because there are no rules other than treat your body in a loving, kind, respectful way. That generally doesn't mean denying or ignoring our emotional needs or physical needs, right? And so it sounds pretty simple, and it is pretty simple, but full transparency, it's not easy. Change is never easy. So if you're looking to lose weight, but you're sick and tired of dieting and you're open to a new way of doing it, then this just might be the podcast for you. And we were going to be diving into the 3 pillars of successful weight loss next week. This is the foundation of the program on stuff that was created for our clients. And frankly, what has allowed us to now witness those 2,500 plus lives be altered and changed in a way that I'm very proud of what we've been able to create, a way that I feel we've been able to reach out to our clients, or our clients reach out to us and say, you know, that program changed my life. I've been able to lose that weight and maintain it without it being a constant internal battle. So that's what we want to share with you. That's what we want to teach you how to do on the podcast. Steph, anything else you want to mention here?
You know, I think we mostly covered it. I will just say, to reiterate what you mentioned, it's not easy. It's simple in nature. The habits are simple in nature, but the habits are easily available to everyone. When it comes to sort of no rules, that's where people feel like the wheels come off. You know, it's like, well, okay, so if there's no rules, then how are you not intuitive eating? Like, my intuition is telling me to eat pizza, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and every meal in between. So no rules, you said, right? But here's the deal. Here's what I learned. My body makes the rules. My brain sucks at making rules. And it is terrible at giving me instructions, because it is giving me those instructions from a place where it has been fed diet rules. It has been fed anti-diet frameworks. It's been fed all of these different things. And all that information in your brain giving you instructions doesn't always line up with what your body is telling you. And so many of us are disconnected from our body's cues. Our aim is to help you reconnect so that you can listen and let your body lead, while also, as you mentioned, working on those emotional needs, those emotional cues and drivers that get us to eat when our body says no, but our mind wants more.
And boy, does it want more. Well, thanks to our listeners for tuning in for our first episode. We look forward to introducing you to the 3 pillars of successful weight loss in next week's episode. We'll see you all next Tuesday. Have a great week, y'all.